Brendan, it's nice to see you again.
Yeah, hi, you okay?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good man.
I'm gonna start a little bit different in terms of just with the fitness updates. Could you also just give us the availability in terms of the COVID protocols, of course, players coming back from international duty, and just the typical standard fitness that you have to deal with day in, day out anyway? Who is available for this weekend?
Uh, well, we have, I'm just trying to think, we have most of our players back available now. Obviously, some still short in fitness, but obviously the likes of JJ and Wesley Fofana are probably the only two that are out at the moment in terms of fitness wise. So yeah, Ryan Burton will be back and available. Johnny Evans and Yannick Vestergaard are progressing very, very well. So yeah, we've had a good international break with getting players and increasing the fitness level. So hopefully all those players should be fit and available.
In terms of your recent record, of course, you've only played Manchester City not too long ago, in the Community Shield, and it favoured well for you that day. Your recent record against City has been promising and encouraging one as well. Without giving too much away, of course, in terms of game plan, what is it that you look to implement every single time as to why you seem to get so much success against City?
No, listen, they're an incredible team of players, and I've always said they're the world's best managers. So it's always a huge challenge when you play against Manchester City. So and this will be no different. Their squad is, they play the best positioning game in the world. The level of technique, the intensity, and the hunger which they play, and that's why they've been so successful with Pep over these last numbers of years. So yes, you have to be fully concentrated. You need to try and stay in the game, and then when you have the ball, you're going to be restricted in terms of your percentage of possession with the ball, no matter how good you are on the ball. But then when you have it, it's having that confidence to play and exploit any spaces that are there. So yeah, it's a team that you have to have full concentration against. Quality all over the field in their build-up play, how they prepare the game through the midfield, and then they get real special talents at the top end of the field that can make the difference. So like any playing against any top opponent, you need to defend well. You need to play well when you have the ball. You need a little bit of luck, and you need to take your opportunities. So all of that combined, you hope can fall for you on the day.
As a club manager, is the international break something that is encouraged this early into the season? Is an opportunity to restart? I know you were very open after the Norwich game and said that so far you've seen that your team has kind of been off of the standards that you kind of expect from them. So this is an opportunity now to start afresh with so many games still left in the season anyway.
Yeah, no, it's not starting afresh. It's just a build up over the course of the season. We've made a really solid start. Lots of players missing and whatnot, but yeah, we've made a solid start, winning 2 out of 3 games. But the exciting part for me is that with hopefully players returning and more game time and more fitness, then that performance level, I'm pretty sure, will increase. I think for me, what was important after the Norwich game or after the West Ham game was that the players, we showed our mentality as a group, because you can't win every game. However, you have to have that ability to regroup and dig in. That's very important in any team. So going away to Norwich after the West Ham game was important for us, and we got the 3 points. So yeah, players over international break will gain that bit of fitness. The ones that stayed here, the ones that have gone away and played, you want them to get game time to increase their fitness. Thankfully, hopefully they'll come back fit and ready, and then we'll get a really exciting period now through to the next international break with some top games and the start of a European campaign.
A question from the fans, really. Adi Lukman, this will be the first opportunity we've had a chance to kind of see him feature within your squad. Kind of what have you seen from him that, first of all, you wanted to kind of bring and work with him, but also how excited are you maybe for him to feature this weekend as well?
Yeah, I'm really excited about working with Adi. He is a top talent. I wanted to take him to Celtic when he was at Charlton. So I was aware from when he was 15, 16, the talent that he's been. And I just think he's one that he has all the tools. He's got great dribbling ability. Physically, he's good. He's got a good view of the game. He's very honest to the game. He works so hard. He's got an eye for a goal, and my hope is that this environment that he comes into will allow him to flourish and give him that stability to shine, because he's a great man, still very young, and if he can find a home here, I've got absolutely no doubt the Leicester City supporters, when he plays, will be really excited by him. And what was important for us in our squad is to have that talent that we can bring into the game or start the game. And he's got big ability, and we hope that this environment and our team structure will allow that to flourish.
Brendan, I just got a couple of wider questions from you, just in terms of what's happening in the sport. And I'm sure you would have heard about this club versus country debate in terms of with the red list that's happened at this moment in time. Do you think there's growing pressure on players in terms of around their international representation and sort of the debate? And what are the conversations that you're having with your players who would have gone on international duty?
Obviously, we spoke to the players going away beforehand, just to highlight what was happening above them. I don't think it's for the players. With all due respect, I think all players, they just want to play football. They want to play for their countries, and they want to come back to here and play for their clubs and for their supporters. So I think it sits beyond the players. It shouldn't be with players. You know, this is for the governments and the hierarchies to make the decisions, and the authorities. So I think it's for the authorities to find the solutions for when players can travel and when we can.
And finally, for me, I'm sure you would have been on the training ground today, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of breaking news about a proposal that's been given by FIFA to try to change the World Cup to happening every 2 years. Now, you as a club manager, of course, you know that the window, they've spent 80% with you guys and 20% with their international teams, but just your thoughts on if potentially the World Cup does change to happen every 2 years.
Yeah, I haven't given it too much. So I've seen it bandied about. My own initial thoughts are, I think what is important is that we think of the players. You know, it's okay having all these competitions and having them every 2 years or 4 years and all these games, and especially on the back of the pandemic over this last couple of years. I think we have to ensure that it's all about the quality of football. And because the players are the guys that have to play the games, and like I said, especially the top players, it's arguable that they can play too much. So for me, I think it's about the quality of the tournament. I actually quite enjoy the Euros every couple of years, and then you go to the World Cup every 4 years. That for me fits well, but I think in any decision, it all has to be taken in the number of games that players are playing, because we all want to see quality. And the last thing you want at the end of a season is to see players that have played maybe 50, 60 odd games being tired going into tournament football, because that, again, the spectacle and the quality and the risk of injury will always be there then and be affected.
Pleasure as always, Brendan. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thanks, JD. Thank you.
Okay, Damien from PLP, please.
Hi, Brendan.
Hi, Damien.
Hi. Edison and Jesus seem to be affected by this 5-day rule. Do you expect City to play them? Are you preparing to face a team that may include them?
I think, Damien, for us, we're just preparing to play against a top quality team, whether it's Jesus or Riyad Mahrez or Raheem Sterling that's playing, then it's going to be top players that they have. They get an incredible squad that are full of talent and winners. So whichever team Manchester City will play, we'll be preparing for a top team.
You spoke very excitedly about the prospects for Ademola Lookman. Are you tempted to unleash him in a game like this, where it's the champions coming to town? It's an opportunity to use his pace, perhaps on the counter attack if you're not having the ball that much. Are you tempted to throw him in?
Well, Harvey Barnes does okay in that front as well, and we have a number of players that can give us that option. I'm just excited to work with Ade over the course of the season. He's going to contribute, I'm pretty sure, over the many games that we'll have. And like I said, we'll finalise the team and the preparation for that tomorrow. But he's available. He looks fit. He looks strong. He's excited to be here, and if he doesn't start, he may well play at some part in the game. But over the course of the season, I'm really excited to work with him and see what he can bring to this group of players.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Damien.
Okay, James from TalkSport.
Hi, Brendan. How are you?
Good, James. Thank you.
Brendan, in terms of Ademola Lookman, how beneficial do you think having that season loan at Fulham last season was? And you mentioned Harvey Barnes there. Do you think they can complement one another, or do you think it's either Harvey or Addy?
No, I think that he can play in a number of positions. Ademola, I think his preferred position would be off the left side, but I've seen him enough when he was at Charlton. He can play on the inside as well, and behind a striker. He can play off the right. He's very balanced. He's got two great feet. You wouldn't know what was the strongest. He can play and strike the ball so well off both sides. So I think his contribution, depending on the tactic that we want to use in the game, will be very important. Like you say, Harvey's a different type of player, probably a little bit more direct, super fast in carrying the ball. But yeah, they're both different types. Probably both prefer to be on the left, but they are multifunctional. They can play in other areas of the field.
Last season, you won 5-2 against Manchester City. That was the second match of the season. You're taking them on in your fourth game of this campaign. Do you see that as a possibility of something like that happening again, or does it feel like that was a one-off?
Listen, you go into every game, you just can only prepare and hope that you can play well. You know that you're going to have to play well to get a result against Manchester City. You see how they've been in the last couple of games, finding the rhythm, finding their touch again, and their connection as a team. So you know that there's lots of things need to go well for you when you play against a team of that quality. But we're at home. We're looking forward to being back together again. Supporters in the stadium as well, so that'll be a huge boost for us. And it's just so important that you stay in the game against a team like Manchester City, and hopefully we can put on a good performance and result.
On a slightly different note, a number of the England players have been speaking recently about how they've been using sports psychologists to either help enhance their performance or to help with their mental health. What do you do at Leicester? What do you offer in terms of the mental side of the game?
I think it's very, very important. I've always said since I've been a young coach that there's been always lots of focus on the technical side of the game, the tactical side and the physical side. But somehow there was a taboo around the mental side of the game. So I think in this modern era now, that has slowly gone away. There's still maybe a feeling around it, but certainly now the modern player and coach sees the importance in it. I've always seen it as being very, very important. So we'll always provide that support for players, whether it's in here at the club or outside of the club, where we can have specialists to support and help. But it's absolutely 100% a part of the holistic approach to developing a football player, and it's certainly it's a side of the game that is as equally important as the technical and tactical side, as well as the physical.
And just finally from me, Brendan, you mentioned there the taboo. How do you feel like the players' attitudes have changed towards using psychologists or tapping into the mental side of the game? We had Gabby Bonlahor speaking this week saying at the time when it was introduced to Aston Villa, it was almost seen as a weakness to go to a psychologist. But now, looking back, he wishes he did tap into that side of the game. Yeah,
but I also think it's society. It's not just football. I think there's always been that feeling, especially with men in society as well as sport, is that it might have been a weakness and there might have been a vulnerability to talk about it. But I think the world is changing for the better in terms of having that openness and that communication. And I've always said it's so important that people have the opportunity to lift burdens in life. You shouldn't have to carry a burden around with you if you have an issue or a problem. And having that opportunity to speak it out and talk through it always makes you feel better afterwards. So in sport as well as society, I think it's a very important message that it's not any weakness whatsoever to talk about it. It's you have strength by doing it, and obviously, hopefully, you feel the benefits afterwards.
Thanks a lot, Brendan.
Thanks, James. Thank you.
Okay, Owen from Radio Leicester, please.
Hi, Brendan. Hope you're okay.
Hi, on.
I wondered whether I could ask a little bit more about your injury situation. You said that Yannick Vestergaard and Johnny Evans are progressing well. Are they going to be available to play this weekend? Are they fit enough in their recovery to feature against Manchester City?
Well, that's what we have to assess going into this last 24 hours. Just where they're at. We had a training game last week that both of them played in here at the training ground. So they came through that. They're not going to be 100%, of course. We now only have 3 substitutes. So there's a strategy, obviously, going into the game that, we have to be as sure as we possibly can in terms of how long the players can last. But yeah, we'll see where we're at before we finalise the team for tomorrow. But I think over the course of the next couple of weeks, that they'll be training more, hopefully involved more in the games, and they can build the fitness up.
And I wanted to ask about Ricardo as well, Brendan, because we saw him against Norwich holding that hamstring as he came off. You said it didn't look as bad as what it could have been after that one, but is he okay going into this one as well? Has he recovered from that fully now?
Yeah, so he trained today. He was out on the pitches yesterday, and he came through a session today and looked very good.
Good to hear. Will the players returning from injury, those 3 that we've just mentioned, and etc., allow you maybe to shift the formation a little bit and have maybe a little bit more flexibility with your formation? Because we've seen you play quite a few times against the top sides, a back 3 that can alternate into a back 5. But due to the nature of your centre-back options being injured, you've not been able to do that so far this season. So do those players coming back now allow you to have that flexibility with what you might play at the back against Manchester City?
Well, I think whether it's Manchester City or any other team, I've always stressed since I came into here, adaptability and flexibility within the systems are important. But of course, you need availability of players to be able to do that. So yeah, these guys coming back should allow us that chance to do that if we decide that that's what the game needs or requires. So having that quality back and available will definitely help if that's the strategy that we want to look at.
Of course, Charles Soyuncu is a player who has featured all season, of course, but seemingly, with his sending off and giving away a penalty in the week as well, seems to be going through a little bit of a slip in form. And I wonder, from a manager's perspective, how important it is to have patience with a player like Charles Soyuncu, a young player who's made a lot of steps in recent years coming into the Premier League. How important is that patience with him whilst he maybe navigates a little bit of tough form and tough luck?
Yeah, I think it's so important for a manager to be able to support the player. And I think also, we're also at a level where you can't consistently make mistakes or else you don't play so much. That's also the reality of it. But whilst players do, and they go through a little period of hardship and maybe their confidence just dropping a little bit because they've made mistakes or just haven't been playing well, or for whatever other reason, of course, that support is important. It's always difficult for the player if they're playing in a squad that is very competitive and there's someone knocking on the door behind them to play. So that hopefully will keep you concentrated to be at your very, very best. But yeah, it's always important for coaches and for managers to support and offer that confidence and help to the player whenever they go through a little sticky patch.
Just a couple more from me, Brendan, if you don't mind.
Of course.
I know you've spoken about getting back into the sort of mindset after an international break for players. How difficult has that been this time because there's not too many days between the end of the international break and coming back to Leicester City, of course, to get those players back in and get them into their Leicester City mindset?
Yeah, well, it is. It's always a challenge. We have, so our Belgian players aren't back until tomorrow with the training group. Danny Ward won't be back. So the whole squad aren't back together until tomorrow. So, but yeah, it's always a challenge, but you get everyone back. You you reset again, and then you get excited about the games ahead. And obviously, our next game against Manchester City is it's a brilliant game for us. So we have to connect back quickly and get that sort of togetherness back. So yeah, we'll do that finally tomorrow.
And finally, from me, Brendan, we've always seen sort of Pep Guardiola every single season since he's been at Manchester City develop and evolve at least sort of one area in particular, and it's been sort of consistent, whether it's in the midfield or individual players or in the defence. And I wonder, when you look at them, whether you see that evolution of one part of their game so far, and how much that is in your mind when you're preparing your tactics and style to face them on Saturday.
No, listen, I've said it many times. I think Pep's an incredible coach. One of the real pioneer for the modern game. He's a real inherent belief in the positioning of the team. It's about numbers. It's about creating an overload, whether that's at the back, 3 versus 2, 2 versus 1, 4v3 in the midfield. But obviously, principally looking to have the ball as much as they can in order to create opportunities to score. So yeah, and he's always had little slants in terms of where the fullbacks are. If one is in and one's out, or both are inside and playing with wingers outside. So yeah, they're a team full of talented players as is a very talented coach who is able to maximise what he can get out of top level players. So yes, that's always the challenge for every opponent, and for us, as I said, we know what that challenge will be. But we've always looked to be competitive and look to show our qualities in the game, and hopefully we can do that as well.
Thank you, Brendan. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks, Owen. Thank you.